Welcome back to our historical series, a Wild West extravaganza, with Outback Jack. Today, we dive into the Battle of Little Bighorn. We're going to cover some important facts surrounding the battle and Custer's demise. In the summer of 1876, along the ridges and steep bluffs and ravines of Little Bighorn River, warriors of the Lakota Sioux, Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes faced off against the 7th Regiment of the U.S. Cavalry. The U.S. Cavalry, accompanied by their Crow and various scouts from other tribes, sought to enforce the reservation system and bring the Lakota and Cheyenne under control once and for all, to further cement the U.S. expansion and gold mining opportunities that the rich territory offered. The Battle of Little Bighorn was not an isolated confrontation, however. It was part of a larger strategic campaign to force the non-reservation Lakota and Cheyenne into submission. To understand the significance of this battle, we need to go back to 1868, when the Treaty of Fort Laramie was signed. After years of fierce fighting, several Lakota leaders agreed to a treaty, which created a large reservation for the Lakota in present-day South Dakota. However, leaders like Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse rejected the reservation system, preferring their traditional way of life, which is understandable. It's beautiful country, it's rugged, and it's sacred hunting grounds. Even to this day, there are herds upon herds of animal. Many Lakota warriors and hunters who did not sign the treaty continued to roam freely as well, bringing them into conflict with settlers and other tribes. Their refusal to conform to the treaty's restrictions set the stage for the Battle of Little Bighorn, in fact. This was a culmination of years of cat and mouse games. In the late 1800s, tensions between the United States and Lakota Sioux reached a boiling point. It all began in 1874, when Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer was given a mission to explore the Black Hills within the Great Sioux Reservation, which is expansive, and it's a beautiful forest. Custer's task, however, was to map the area, find a suitable site for a military post within the reservation, and survey the natural resources that could be exploited. Little did he know, this expedition would change the course of history as we know it today. During the expedition, geologists stumbled upon something extraordinary: gold. News of this discovery spread like wildfire, attracting a wave of miners and entrepreneurs to the Black Hills in South Dakota. This influx of settlers directly violated the 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie, which guaranteed the Black Hills as Lakota territory. The United States was trespassing and breaking its treaty. However, government officials attempted to negotiate a purchase of the land, but the Lakota refused the offered price. It was already agreed. It was Lakota land. It was sacred. As tensions escalated, the United States issued an ultimatum to the Lakota. They were given until January 31st, 1876 to report to a reservation or be labeled hostiles by the United States government. The Lakota's response was minimal. They said kick dirt. And the matter was handed over to the military, in fact. General Philip Sheridan devised a strategy to force the Lakota's return to the reservation. 3 separate forces were then deployed: Colonel John Gibbon from Fort Ellis, General George Crook from Fort Fetterman, and General Alfred Terry from Fort Abraham Lincoln. Each force was expected to deal with the Lakota warriors they encountered, but communication and coordination proved to be difficult. The Lakota had a nomadic lifestyle, and the Cheyenne also had a nomadic lifestyle. It made it difficult to predict their movements, adding another layer of complexity to the military's mission. This was rugged land, high terrain. It was tough to send scouts back and forth to communicate. Among the force was Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer, who had previously explored the Black Hills. Little did he know he would play a pivotal role in the upcoming events. With tensions mounting and uncertainty in the air, the stage was set for a clash that would forever change the relationship between the United States and Lakota Sioux. In the vast expanse of the American West, there was a region teeming with life and history. This land, home to the tribes of the Lakota, Cheyenne, Arapaho. It was bountiful hunting ground and a place of sacred ceremonies. It was treasured by them. Every early summer, these tribes would come together in large numbers to celebrate their annual Sundance ceremony. It was a time of joy, unity, and spiritual connection. It was during one of these ceremonies that Sitting Bull, a revered Lakota leader, received a powerful vision. He saw soldiers falling upside down into his village, a vision that would foretell a great victory for his people. As the days passed, rumors began to circulate among the camp. Whispers of soldiers on the other side of Wolf Mountain, just 15 miles to the east. But few paid attention, for they believed no one would dare attack them in their strength. This was a large tribe. Unbeknownst to the tribes, General Terry made a strategic decision. He detached Colonel Custer and his 7th Cavalry to flank the Indians from the east and south. Custer was to be the hammer, preventing the tribes from slipping away and scattering. They wanted to ensure total destruction of the Sioux. General Terry and Colonel Gibbon, with their infantry and cavalry, would approach from the north, acting as a blocking force, a wall, for the Lakota to run into, in support of Custer's movements. The plan was to enclose the Indians, making their escape virtually impossible. On the morning of June 25th, the sun rose over the vast plains. Unaware of the impending clash, the 7th Cavalry, led by Colonel Custer, approached the Little Bighorn River, where the tribes were thought to be camped. He was searching. He was reconning the area. What followed was a battle of epic proportions, known as the Battle of Little Bighorn. The Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes fought fiercely to defend their land and way of life. On the evening of June 24th, General Custer and his troops established a night camp, just 25 miles east of where the decisive battle would take place. There were small skirmishes in between. Custer sent his trusted Crow scout ahead to gather intelligence about the Lakota and Cheyenne tribes. After a few brushes with them, he was interested in what they were doing, where they were going, and what sort of encampment they had in the defensive positions they could take up. The scouts reported back that the village had turned west towards the Little Bighorn River and was encamped nearby. Custer, realizing the element of surprise was lost, ordered a night march, following the same route the village had taken. Early on the morning of June 25th, the 7th Cavalry Regiment was positioned near the Wolf Mountains, about 12 miles away from the Lakota Cheyenne encampment. Modern historians estimate that the village numbered around 8,000, with a formidable warrior force of 1,500 to 1,800 men. Custer's initial plan was to conceal his regiment in the Wolf Mountains until the scouts located the Indian village. However, they already found it. He planned to launch a surprise attack at dawn on June 26th. Unfortunately, the scouts reported that their presence had been detected by Lakota or Cheyenne warriors, jeopardizing the element of surprise. Fearing the failure of the Army's campaign, Custer made a bold decision to abandon his original plan and immediately advance and engage the village. At the Wolf Mountain location, Custer divided his regiment into 4 segments. The pack train, commanded by Frederick Benteen, 3 companies led by Major Marcus Reno, and 5 companies under Custer's command himself. Custer ordered Reno to lead his 140-men battalion, along with his various scouts, to pitch into what was ahead, with assurance of full support. In the heart of the vast American West, the Lakota and Cheyenne tribes thrived in the fertile lands of the Little Bighorn River Valley. Little did they know, their peaceful existence was about to be shattered. Following the orders of General Custer, Major Reno and his troops crossed the river, advancing towards the southern end of the village. But their surprise attack was met with fierce resistance. The warriors quickly rallied and launched their counterattack against Reno's troops. With their left flank in danger, Reno made a difficult decision to retreat to a stand of timber by the river. Seeking better protection, Reno ordered a second retreat to the bluffs east of the river. But the relentless pursuit of the Lakota and Cheyenne turned the retreat into a deadly hunt. The retreating troops suffered heavy casualties as the warriors closed in, attacking at close range. Reno's command was shattered shortly after. Captain Benteen, who had been searching for signs of Indians to the south, arrived just in time to meet Reno's demoralized survivors. A message from Custer urged them to hurry to the big village. Determined to find their fellow soldiers, they set out to establish communication. Led by Captain Vere, the troops reached a high promontory known as Weir Point. From there, they witnessed the chaos and smoke engulfing the battlefield. With large numbers of warriors approaching, the cavalry was forced to withdraw to Reno Hill, where they were held under siege for over a day. The Indians relentlessly attacked, but the soldiers held their ground. However, as evening fell on June 26th, the village began to move south. The next day, the combined forces of General Terry and General Given arrived in the valley, where the village had been encamped. The badly battered and defeated remains of the 7th Cavalry under the command of Major Reno and Captain Benteen were finally relieved. Scouting parties were set out to assess the situation, and what they discovered was a horrifying sight. The ridges east of the river were scattered with dead, naked, and mutilated bodies of Custer's command. Exactly what happened to Custer's command that day may never fully be known. However, through Indian accounts, archaeological finds, and the positions of the bodies, historians have been able to piece together the events of the Custer portion of the battle, although many questions still remain unanswered. It is known that after ordering Major Reno to charge the village, General Custer rode northward along the bluffs until he reached a broad drainage known as Medicine Tail Coulee. This natural route led down to the river and the village. Archaeological finds indicate that some skirmishing occurred at the Medicine Tail. However, for reasons fully not understood, the troops fell back and regrouped to Calhoun Hill. Meanwhile, the warriors, having forced Major Reno to retreat, began to converge on Custer's maneuvering command as it forged north along what is now called Custer's or Battle Ridge. Company C and L, dismounting at the southern end of the ridge, put up a fierce resistance before being overwhelmed. Company 1 perished on the east side of the ridge. The survivors of the initial onslaught rushed towards the hill at the northwest end of the ridge. Company E may have attempted to drive the warriors from the deep ravines on the west side of the ridge before being consumed in fire and smoke. Company F, positioned near the National Cemetery, may have tried to fire at the warriors on the flats below before being driven into the last stand site. In the end, only about 40 men out of the 210 were cornered on the hill where the stone monument now stands. They were surrounded by hundreds of Lakota and Cheyenne warriors. Toward the end of the fight, some soldiers on foot or on horseback made a desperate attempt to escape, but within minutes, they were all pulled down and killed. The warriors quickly rushed to the top of the hill, dispatching the last of the wounded. Superior numbers and overwhelming firepower brought the Custer portion of the Battle of Little Bighorn to a close. Today, the hill stands as a solemn reminder of the bravery and sacrifice of those who fought and died on that fateful day. The Battle of Little Bighorn will be forever etched in history, a testament to the complexities and tragedies of war.